I guess this is unique to his situation since she can't, like, you know, turn into a spirit form. She's stuck in physical form. So I assume it's complications of that somehow. I'm done. I let her sleep in the Japanese-style room, but I don't think she'll wake up anytime soon. Sorry, you really helped me out. There's nothing I could have done to treat Saber. Well, I just removed her armor and helped her relax, so you don't need to thank me. Saber won't get well. Saber won't get well, and I haven't done anything. But still, having Tosaka around helped. She was the one that yelled at me when I came home in a panic about what to do. She worked out Saber's situation and advised me to take her armor off and let her sleep. It's been an hour since then. Somehow, communicating with the unconscious Saber, Tosaka took off her armor. So, what happened? Thought you went out looking for Shinji, and Saber was like that. I can tell that something happened, but can you explain the details? I hesitate. Saber's noble phantasm. I should avoid revealing her true name. It's not something I could reveal by my judgment alone. Ryder was defeated. Shinji retired, losing his command spell, but Saber used her noble phantasm and collapsed after using it. Saber's noble phantasm, huh? Tosaka falls into a meaningful silence. She's Tosaka, so she should be able to tell that it was no ordinary matter. Well, I want to ask you for details. You guys are in no condition for that sort of thing. What do you mean we're in no condition? It's just like I said. You should know vaguely by now that Saber will disappear like this. What? Calmly, Tosaka mentions the result I have avoided thinking about. Disappear? You mean Saber will disappear? Of course. Saber's magical energy is almost empty. I don't know what kind of a noble phantasm Saber used, but it must have consumed a lot of magical energy. Saber has used up most of the magical energy in her. She's in pain because she's trying to keep herself from disappearing. She's going to disappear because she doesn't have magical energy. Are you She's going to disappear because she doesn't have magical energy? Are you saying she's going to disappear even though she wasn't injured? Yes, depletion of magical energy is a more serious problem than external damage for a servant. It's the magical energy that gives the spiritual servant's form. She will just disappear if it runs out. Well, masters transmit their magical energy to their servants, so if that doesn't happen... So that doesn't happen, but you can't do that, right? So Saber has to fight using her own magical energy. It's over once that runs out. I told you this right at the beginning. That's certainly what Saber told me, but she was fine until now. Saber said she'll be alright if she slept. That was because Saber's magical energy capacity was extraordinary. Yeah, Saber certainly has some magical energy left in her. I think she should be able to recover enough magical energy to preserve herself. But that's it. Saber will end up fighting in this situation she's in right now. It would be absurd to use the noble phantasm that put her in this state to begin with. Saber will definitely disappear if she uses it again. She'll disappear if she uses her noble phantasm again. No, first of all, I can't let her fight in this state. I don't want to see her slumped over in pain again. Do you understand now? There are only two ways to heal a servant who ran out of magical energy. To have the master replenish the magical energy, or to have the servant collect magical energy herself. To have a servant collect magical energy herself, that would mean killing innocent people like Ryder did. It's impossible. Saber won't do that. She said herself that she wouldn't do such a thing. I would think so. Saber would probably choose to disappear if she had to sacrifice innocent people. So there's only one other possibility. If you don't want Saber to disappear, you'll have to offer her your magical energy. That's something I would have done already if I could, but I don't know any other way to give Saber magical energy. Unfortunately, I can't do everything like you can, Tosaka. Burn. Of course, we wouldn't make it even if I taught you how to share magical energy. It would take you about a year to learn since you're not suitable as a magus. and you wouldn't be able to use it even if you learned it. Well, paths should have been connected at the summoning, so there might be other measures. Thumbnail. Tosaka ponders, but it's only for a moment. Tosaka looks at me with an expression suppressing her emotions. Look, if you want to save Saber, all you can do is to make her attack people and absorb their souls. I think you already know this. That's the most realistic measure. That means Saber will of course object to it, but if you let things be, Saber will disappear, and you will be targeted by other masters. Saber will disappear. I can't even imagine such a thing. I still feel her body heat in my hands, which were carrying her. And there's only one answer. Use your command spell, Emiya-kun. Kyun, you should be able to avoid the worst case scenario with that. That means ordering Saber to kill innocent people. I can't say anything. I resent what Tosaka is saying, but at the same time, another part of me recognizes that this is the only solution. I'll let you decide. Saber will calm down if she sleeps, but her limit is still near. If you're going to make a decision, make one by the next time we get attacked. Tosaka leaves the living room. I can't even look up. I can only listen to Tosaka's departing footsteps. This is a tough situation. Arturia. The girl who had just finished her rite of passage would be known by that name from that day on. It was a time of chaos and war. It began with the demise of an empire believed to be indestructible, was only awaiting its destruction at the hands of invading barbarians. To prepare for the war against these barbarians, the Empire deprived this island country of any military forces. That was the beginning. Once her country lost the Empire's protection, it could not escape becoming independent, and it broke into smaller countries in no time. The barbarian invasions, self-destructive strife between clans, the long period of war that would later be called the Dark Ages. She was born into this period as the heir to the throne. It was a long period of chaos. The king believed the Magus' prophecy and yearned for the birth of his appointed successor. But the child that was born was not the one the king desired. The child was not a boy. Even if the child was fated to become a king, he could not make a child that was not a boy his successor. The girl was entrusted to the king's vassals and was raised as a child of a mere knight. The king fell into despair, but the Magus was delighted. The sex of the one who would become king had never mattered. He was confident that the fact of the girl being separated from the castle until the day of the prophecy was proof that she would become king. The girl grew up as the successor under the simple and wise old knight. The old knight did not really believe the Magus' prophecy. He just felt the same air from the girl as he did from his king. So he felt that he must raise her as a knight, and he wished her to grow. But the knight did not even have to wish for such a thing, as the girl trained day after day to become stronger than anyone. If only a king can save a ruined country headed for death. The girl swore to bear a sword for that reason alone, without ever being told so. So, the day of the prophecy arrived. Knights and lords from around the country gathered to be selected as the king. Every one of them expected the selection to be through jousting if the most superior one was to become king. But the only thing prepared at the place of selection was a naked sword stuck in a stone. On the hilt of the sword was a golden inscription. "Whosoever pulleth out this sword of this stone is rightwise King born of England." Many knights grabbed the sword, following that command. But no one was able to pull the sword out, and the knights began the expected method of selection by jousting. As the girl... Oh. This is some pretty dank art right here. In the background, I guess that's where they... some fought or something? The rocks and the... Oh, this is such good art. As the girl who was only an apprentice, she was not qualified to joust. The girl neared the deserted stone of selection and reached out for the sword without hesitation. No, you should think things through before you take that. When she turned around, before her was the most feared magus in the country. The magus said she would no longer be human when she took a hold of the sword. The girl only responded with a nod. Becoming a king means no longer being human. She was prepared for that ever since she was born. In short, a king is someone who kills everyone to protect everyone. That young girl thought about it every night and shuddered until morning came. No day passed that she did not fear the fact, but the girl said that it would end this day. The sword was pulled out as if it were only natural to do so, and the place was filled with light. In that instant, she became something not human. The king's gender does not matter. No one will care about the king's appearance or even notice it if the king acts like a king. Even if anybody noticed that the king was a female, there would be no problem if she was a good knight. A good king, rather. Perhaps because of the sword's magic, the girl's growth stopped at that time as well. Many knights feared it as ominous, but most of them praised their master's immortality as divine. Thus, the time of the king who would become a legend started. The battles of the new king were indeed the acts of a god of war. The king always led from the front. No enemies could stand in her way. Arturia, the god of war. There was no defeat for a body admired as a dragon in human form. For 10 years and 12 battles, she knew only victory. Those were the days she ran through as the king. She never turned back and was never disgraced. She was raised as the king and fulfilled her obligations as the king. Oh, this is the best art. I love this art. I love they put this in the 2006 anime. This art is absolutely incredible. Just look at the sword. Look at the background, the skybox, and there's this nice kind of nice shining light around her from the way the sun hits her, but only in the back. It's very beautiful. Is that why I saw such a figure? Her soul must still be on the battlefield. Before daybreak, resting her body in the wind under the indigo blue sky, she just gazes into the distance. The sky is high and the clouds are flowing fast. Under the clear air, she is looking at the great army she must face with her sword in hand. That figure is burned in and will not go away. She and her sword are one, the sword from the stone that chose the king. I think the brilliance of the sword that selected her fate is also her brilliance. But I wonder, in the dream, the sword is different from the one she had. It is similar, but different. The one she used last night is different from this sword. So, how did she lose such a fine sword? When I wake up in my room, it's light outside. Guess I fell asleep after coming back to my room, unable to make a decision. That dream was a strange dream. Events I shouldn't know about, things I don't know about Saber. So he dreamed about her past. It's actually incredible. Events I shouldn't know about, things I don't know about Saber. Is it possible for me to dream about them? But that sword was certainly different from the one Saber had. I vaguely think. Saber's true identity that was hidden. To be honest, I still can't accept who she is. Saber is just Saber. I can't change my attitude just because I know who she was before. And I don't think Saber would want that either. I would... If I was in his situation, I'd be like, can I get an autograph? You are... Can I hold the sword? Like, that would be freaking awesome. Like, it's so unbelievable, man. It's so cool. But it suited her. The sword from yesterday suited her, but the sword of my dream also suited her. It's a lot of repetition. Or you could say I was fascinated. Well, yesterday's sword and the sword of my dream, it seems I fall for swords easily. I also thought Lancer's lance was beautiful when I saw it, but my interest in swords is exceptional. It seems I'm easily attracted to them. She said before. Well, it's not like that only just started. I take a deep breath and reach up to my sweaty face. But it sure is hot. I wipe the sweat off my forehead. Even though it's winter, my body is burning. Feels like my blood is getting hotter, and I feel restless. I wonder why. Ever since I saw Saber's sword, my body has been strangely hot. The hand that bears the command spell is hot, as if it's holding a pocket heater. It's like that time Tosaka made me swallow that jewel, like it's itchy, where it makes me want to run around. Why doesn't she just swallow a jewel then? I take a deep breath to try to calm myself. I guess Saber's still asleep. Saber has not woken up even once since last night, but it still seems she's getting better. Her breathing is calm now, and there's no sign she is gasping in pain. Saber is sleeping peacefully. This is an everyday morning scene. Maybe if I let her sleep like this, she might get back to normal. Then there'll be no need to have her kill people. Then, just like now, Saber will be with me, and... How selfish of me. I hit the wall. I'm so weak it makes me sick. It's my fault Saber's in this state. Who am I to say? I get up, trying not to make a sound. I don't know when Saber will wake, but I have to make a decision before she does. Tosaka must still be asleep. There's no energy in the house, and it feels like it's abandoned. No, I'm just depressed. I can't decide, so I'm wandering around in a gray state, and that causes the world to be vague. I hear something cut through the air. Again, it's from the yard, but I remember that sound. Yeah, I don't feel like cooking breakfast right now, so I'll take a walk and check it out. It's much colder than usual outside. It must be really cold if my burning body feels it. It's so cold that it might snow. It's from the shed area. The sound is coming periodically. I cross the yard, breathing out white puffs. He's there in front of the shed. I guess I kind of knew he would be there, so I wasn't surprised. He must have been shooting arrows until now. He lowers his bow in displeasure as soon as he sees me. That's strange. Don't shoot bows in someone else's house. What are you gonna do if you hit someone? I wouldn't have to do anything, as I am not using any bow arrows. One cannot be hit by something that is not fired. He doesn't need to tell me that. The sound was Archer's bowstring cutting through the air. I don't know why, but Archer isn't using any arrows, but only pulling his bow. That's a good bow. I wasn't convinced until now, but you really are an archer. Well, I'm not an archer like the ones you know, so I would not be able to answer you even if you asked me about archery. Your arrows are shot to target yourself, while my arrows are shot to hit an enemy. The archer you have in mind must be the kind that respects manners and politeness. Man, Archer is really does not like Shiro. He curls his lips offensively. As I thought, I can't get along with him. I don't intend to ask you about archery. I was just wondering what you were doing. As you can see, I am merely checking my condition. The wound Saber gave me is healed. I cannot stay on watch forever. I see. He's healed now. Then that means Tosaka should return to the war. I turn away. Since Tosaka and Archer are rejoining the battle, I must make a decision. I have to think seriously somewhere I can be alone. There is a concept called follow-through. Yeah, I'm aware of that. Huh? The time you have after you take your shot. I believe that is the only thing common to your archery and mine. What? You don't have to tell me about the 8 stages of shooting. Just listen. They say the body stays there naturally after you shoot a bow. I heard that you call it follow-through. Certainly there are 8 movements in archery that called the 8 stages of shooting. The last one, the follow-through, is the state that comes after shooting an arrow, but... yeah, so what about it? I'm talking about your mental preparation. Follow-through is not intended to ascertain if the arrow has hit the target. An arrow has hit the target even before it is released. The archer lets the arrow go according to that image. So there is no reason to check if the arrow has hit or not. Because if you think the arrow will hit, it will hit the target. And if you do not, the arrow will not hit. That's not true. There are shots that won't hit no matter how much you think they will. Everyone would hit the target every time, if all you have to do is to think about hitting it. Is that so? Well, you hit the target every time. What? His statement makes my heart jump. That's certainly. Well, I do not care about that. There's only one thing I want to tell you. Follow-through is not intended to ascertain if you hit the target or not. What happens to the released arrow is obvious. So follow-through is a preparation to accept that result. Is it not? I know, so you're saying I should be able to see through this thing until the end, right? Exactly. I heard about Saber's situation. You should have known from the beginning that she would end up like this. She will disappear in time if she fights without a magical energy supply. That fact was already determined, so all that's left is to accept the result. Is he saying that no matter what happens to Saber, because of my decisions, all I can do is see through what happens? I turn my back to Archer. I will leave this guy once and for all. Oh, and one more thing. I will tell you since you don't seem to know. I hear a voice from behind me. Saber should have known she would disappear if she used her noble phantasm. She probably did not intend to use her noble phantasm until the very end. The usual offensive tone isn't present in his voice. There is only one reason she used her noble phantasm in spite of that. She chose to protect you over her own existence. Never forget that. His voice holds only honest sincerity.